Nakem, Kal Yeshara'av. How's your peace, Israel? Welcome back to another video. And we're dealing with the topic at hand, which is what is the right diet? Okay? What is the right diet? And we're going to start off in the book of Daniel. Daniel chapter 1. Daniel chapter 1, and it reads on this wise. In the third year of the reign of King Jehoiakim of Judah, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came to Jerusalem and laid siege to it. The Lord delivered King Jehoiakim of Judah into his power, together with some of the vessels of the house of God, and he brought them to the land of Shinar, to the house of his God. He deposited the vessels in the treasury of his God. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, his chief officer, to bring some Israelites of royal descent and of nobility, youths without blemish, handsome, proficient in all wisdom, knowledgeable, intelligent, and capable of serving in the royal palace, and teach them the writings of the language of the Chaldeans. The king allotted daily rations to them from the king's food and from the wine he drank. They were to be educated for 3 years, at the end of which they were to enter the king's service. Among them were the Judahites, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The chief officer gave them new names. He named Daniel Belshazzar, Hananiah Shadrach, and Mishael Meshach, and Azariah Abednego. Daniel resolved not to defile himself with the king's food of the wine he drank. So he sought permission of the chief officer not to defile himself, and God disposed the chief officer to be kind and compassionate towards Daniel. The chief officer said to Daniel, I fear that the Lord, the king who allotted food and drink to you, will notice that you look out for sorts, unlike the other youths of the age, and you will be put to life in jeopardy with the king. Daniel replied to the guard, whom the chief officer had put in charge of Daniel, Hananiah, and Mishael, and Azariah. Please test your servants for 10 days, giving us legumes to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearance with that of the youths who eat of the king's food, and do with your servants as you see fit. He agreed to this plan of theirs and tested them for 10 days. When the 10 days were over, they looked better and healthier than all the youths who were eating the king's food. So the guard kept on removing their food and their wine when they were supposed to drink, and gave them legumes. God made all four of these young men intelligent and proficient in all writings and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding of visions, dreams, and all kinds. When the time of the king had set for their presentation had come, the chief officer presented them to Nebuchadnezzar. The king spoke with them, and of them all none was equal to Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So these entered the king's service. Whenever the king put a question to them requiring wisdom and understanding, he found them to be 10 times better than all magicians, exorcists throughout his realm. Daniel was there until the first year of King Cyrus. Okay, that was Daniel and his companions thrive on plant-based diet, showing the benefits of a dietary discipline. Okay, we're now going to go into the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verses 29, and it reads on this wise. This is Barashayah, chapter 1, verses 29, and it reads on this wise. God said, See, I give you every seed-bearing plant that is upon all the earth, and every tree that has seed-bearing fruits, they shall be yours for food. Okay? That was God originally gives plants and fruits as food for humanity. We're now going to go into the book of Leviticus, chapter 11. Wayikra, Wayakara, which is Leviticus chapter 11, and it reads on this wise. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying to them, Speak to the Israelite people thus: These are the creatures that you may eat from among all the land animals. Any animal that has true hoofs with clefts through the hoofs, and that chews the cud, such you may eat. The following, however, of those that either chew the cud or have true hoofs, you shall not eat: the camel, although it chews the cud, it has no true hoofs, it is unclean for you. The daman, although it chews the cud, it has no true hoofs, it is unclean for you. The hare, although it chews the cud, it has no true hoofs, it is unclean for you. And the swine, although it has true hoofs with the hoofs cleft through, it does not chew the cud, it is unclean for you. You shall not eat of the flesh or touch their carcasses, they are unclean for you. These you may eat of all that live in the water. Anything in water, whether in the seas or in the streams that have fins and scales, these you may eat. But anything in the sea or in the streams that has no fins or scales, among all the swarming things of the water, and among all the other living creatures that are in the water, they are an abomination for you, and an abomination for you they shall remain. You shall not eat of their flesh, and you shall abominate their carcasses. Everything in the water that has no fins and scales shall be an abomination for you. The following you shall abominate among the birds. They shall not be eaten. They are an abomination: the eagle, the vulture, and the black vulture, the kite, falcons of every variety, all varieties of raven, the ostrich, the nighthawk, the seagull, hawks of every variety, the little owl, the cormorant, the great owl, the white owl, the pelican, the buzzard, the stork, herons of every variety, the hoopoe, and the bat. All winged swarming things that walk on fours shall be an abomination for you, but these you may eat among all the winged swarming things that walk on fours, all that have above their feet jointed legs to leap with on the ground. Of these you may eat of the following: locusts of every variety, all varieties of bold locust, crickets of every variety, all varieties of grasshopper. But all the other winged swarming things that have 4 legs shall be abomination for you, and the following shall make you unclean: whoever touches the carcasses shall be unclean until the evening, and whoever carries the carcass of any of them that shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. Every animal that has true hoofs but without clefts through the hoofs, or that does not chew the cud, they are unclean for you. Whoever touches them shall be unclean. Also all animals that walk on paws, among those that walk on fours, are unclean for you. Whoever touches their carcasses shall be unclean until the evening, and anyone who carries their carcasses shall wash his clothes and remain unclean until the evening. They are unclean for you. The following shall be unclean for you from among the things that swarm on the earth: the mole, the mouse, the great lizard of every variety, the gecko, the land crocodile, the lizard, the sand lizard, and the chameleon. Those are for you unclean among all the swarming things. Whoever touches them, they are dead. When they are dead, shall be unclean until the evening. And anything on which one of them falls when dead shall be unclean, be it any article of wood, or a cloth, or skin, or sack. Any such article that can be put to use shall be dipped in water, and it shall remain unclean until the evening. Then it shall be clean. And if any of those falls into an earthen vessel, everything inside it shall be unclean, and the vessel itself you shall break. As to any food that may be eaten, it shall be unclean, if it came in contact with water. As to any liquid that may be drunk, it shall become unclean, if it was inside any vessel. Everything which the carcass of any of them falls shall be unclean. On an oven or stove shall be smashed. They are unclean, and unclean they shall remain for you. However, a spring or cistern in which water is collected shall be clean, but whoever touches such a carcass in it shall be unclean. If such a carcass falls upon seed grain that is to be sown, it is unclean. It is clean, sorry. But if water is put on the seed, and any part of the carcass falls upon it, it shall be unclean for you. If any animal that you may eat has died, anyone who touches its carcass shall be unclean until evening. Anyone who eats of its carcass shall wash his clothes and remain unclean until the evening. Anyone who carries its carcass shall wash his clothes and remain unclean until the evening. All the things that swarm upon the earth are an abomination, they shall not be eaten. You shall not eat among all things that swarm upon the earth, anything that crawls on its belly, or anything that walks on fours, or anything that has many legs, for they are an abomination. You shall not draw abomination upon yourselves through anything that swarms. You shall not make yourselves unclean therewith, and thus become unclean. For I, the Lord, am your God. You shall sanctify yourself and be holy, for I am holy. You shall not make yourselves unclean through any swarming thing that moves on the earth. For I, the Lord am he who brought you up from the land of Egypt to be your God. You shall be holy, for I am holy. These are the instructions concerning animals, birds, all living creatures that move in the water, and all creatures that swarm on the earth, for distinguishing between the unclean and the clean, between the living things that may be eaten, and the living things that may not be eaten. Okay, and that was the dietary laws for Israel, detail clean and unclean foods, promoting physical and spiritual purity. Okay, we're not gonna go now. We're gonna go to the book of First Corinthians, chapter 10. Chapter 10, verses 31, and it reads on this wise. So whatever you eat, whatever you drink, and whatever you do all of it for God's glory. Okay? And that was whether you eat or drink, do it all for the glory of God. Okay? We're now going to finish it off in the book of Jubilees, chapter 22, verses 16 to verse 17. To verse 16 to verse 17. And it reads on this wise. And do thou, my son Jacob, remember my words, and observe the commandments of Abraham my father. Separate thyself from the nations, and eat not with them, and do not according to their works, and become not their associate. For their works are unclean, and all their ways are pollution and an abomination and uncleanness. They offer their sacrifices to the dead, and they worship evil spirits, and they eat over the graves, and all their works are vanity and nothingness. Okay, and that was advises moderation in eating, warning against overindulgence. And just going to finish off in the last scripture, which we kind of read already, but it's just to emphasize what is the right diet. We're going to go back to the book of Daniel, chapter 1, right? Verses 12 to verse 16. Okay, and it reads on this wise. Please test your servants for 10 days, giving us legumes to eat and water to drink. Then compare our appearance with that of the youths who eat of the king's food, and do with your servants as you see fit. He agreed to do this plan of theirs and tested them for 10 days. When the 10 days were over, they looked better and healthier than all the youths who were eating of the king's food. So the guard kept on removing their food and the wine they were supposed to drink and gave them legumes. And that was Daniel's diet of vegetables and water highlights the benefits of a simple and disciplined diet. And we're dealing with the topic, what is the right diet? So I only hope the reader and listen to this word will be blessed by this, and may Yahweh bless you, may Yahweh keep you, may Yahweh cause his face to shine upon you, may Yahweh be gracious to you, may Yahweh lift up his countenance upon you, and may Yahweh Grant you everlasting peace in Yeshua. HaMashiach's name I pray. Selah.